Sue Stephenson. Welcome to Paso del Camino, a project um, in the Camino Santiago to the Camino Santiago. It's my pleasure to have you here talking about the Camino with me. It's really, really a pleasure for me to talk to you. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Helm.
so, I will start with a challenge. I will put playing two songs, and you have to connect these two songs to the Camino. Okay?
No worries.
First, that is the hardest. This is called Lost from Coldplay.
Okay, it was really faint, and that's why I kept coming closer to see if I could hear it better. And I increased the volume, so I didn't really hear it. I couldn't have picked it. Actually, what
Lost from Coldplay.
I've been living under a rock. Who's Coldplay? No, I'm joking.
And this is Thank You from Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, I like that song.
What these two songs have in common with the Camino?
I don't know.
Just a little help. How most of the American pilgrims had known about the Camino.
Mhm. How do they know about the Camino?
Yeah,
From the way.
that's
That's
it.
the link. Yeah, that's the link.
These two songs are on the movie The Way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And you know what? You're right, because the Americans would have picked it straight away. And you know what? So would the Australians and probably the English as well. Um, but I did my Camino before the way was really out there. So um, yeah, thank you for linking that for me. I like that.
So now let's start. Really.
Found my challenge. I'll be better. I'll improve throughout the interview.
So, can you tell us a little bit how about your life on the Camino had begun?
My life on the Camino began in 2012. Well, actually being present on the Camino, but I suppose I read a book about the Camino in 2007. So maybe the journey began before I even got here, but just didn't realize, the calling was already there without me realizing it. But actually, physically being part of the Camino came in 2012 when I did my first Camino. And just like you, yeah, completely changed my life. to the point. Well, I left everything in Australia and came to live here permanently in 2016. So um, when that first journey happened, it's incredible. It's incredible because of so many things, but taking us really back to basics and human nature and the generosity of people and the spirit of people on the Camino, um, and what we strive for every day in normal life. So what I would be doing in Australia, working hard to make money, to have nice things, and to travel and do all the things I want to do, go to great restaurants and have a nice car and nice clothes. Well, that's all shedded once you come on the Camino. If you can't carry what you've purchased, you don't need it. We all look the same, doesn't matter where we come from or how much money we do or don't have. um, it's back to basics, and that's probably one of the most wonderful things that I learned about the Camino, is that we don't need much to make us happy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So imagine that you were able to get back in time and go back to your I don't know, to your best moments on the Camino. Which moment did you choose?
The best moment, um, the best and worst was probably finishing my first Camino, arriving in Santiago at the pilgrim office. It's amazing. I've done it. I've finished. I've made it. And then realizing actually this incredible journey is now finished. And then so it became the best and the worst moment all in one go, which is why I went and walked the Camino. That was in the June of 2012, and I went and walked it all again in the September, October of 2012, um, to relive it, but you relive it obviously differently. So that whole journey was completely different, and as incredible as the first, and very different to the first. So I suppose that's and I can feel that within me, that walking into Santiago, arriving at the pilgrim office, going to the cathedral, going to pilgrim mass. It burns in me even when I talk to you about it. I'm emotional thinking about that moment. But other moments, there's too many for me to even begin to tell you in speaking to you for an hour, let alone if you let me speak to you for 24 hours, how many amazing things I've seen and felt and heard along the Camino.
That's amazing. Actually, I need to tell you this. I have like a really nice story about my Caminos and Australian people. Um, in 2016, I was struggling in my life. I wasn't what I wanted to be. I was like a very closed-minded person. I didn't go out much. And after I decided to do the Camino, I was working in Barcelos at that time. And I was a salesman. And so I had to drive around Barcelos. I need to walk around and go from every company, every shop, selling stuff. Um, and I decided to walk the Camino, I guess, on the 4th of October. And in that day, I decided to start talking to pilgrims. And my first pilgrim, no, my first couple of pilgrims when I was preparing myself for the Camino, it was a couple from Australia that was passing by doing the Camino Portuguese. And I don't know, that was the first moment. And our talk, I can't remember very much, but what I can remember is that they give me like such a confidence, such a such a nice idea to what I had prepared it and what I was preparing. It was so they something like given me peace. So to be myself in me doing this, and it was so amazing talking to them. I almost said talking about like 2 hours, and it was really really amazing. So now I will ask you if you can to tell us or to share with us some stories about your Camino, some things, some experiences that you want and that you remember that you want like to tell us that was like really special for you.
Um, well, my first Camino was special in one particular way, is that I started in Saint Jean Pied de Port, and I stayed in a hostel. And my first night of staying in a hostel on the Camino, I hadn't done anything like this before, backpacking, or I wasn't, I liked nice things. I like nice hotels, and I liked a waiter come in to give me my cocktail. So I was going completely out of my comfort zone. And I stayed in a room with three English people. And they were older people. They were ramblers from the down in Devon, and lovely people. And what was so special is that I had a really lovely connection with them, chatted to them, and obviously the next morning everybody went off on their own journey. But I bumped into them, obviously walking up that mountain beyond Orison, and said hello to them again, and walked a little bit further, and then carried on, and then bumped into them again. They were good walkers because they trained a lot. That's what they did. And we had dinner that night, and the next day we sort of met again. And I walked my entire Camino with these two people, Kevin and Marilyn. I walked all the way to Santiago. So not that we would necessarily walk every day, but what ended up happening, it was like, well, okay, where are you going tomorrow? Okay, so I'd be at the first bar at the village we'd say we were going to meet at, and I'd be waiting there for them. I was quite a quick walker, and I didn't stop. I sort of had bad feet, so I just didn't stop throughout my, while I was walking during the day. I just needed to get to where I was getting to, and then they would come, and then we'd walk off to the Alberg, and we'd check in together, so we were sleeping next to each other. And then we'd sort of hang out, chat, and then have dinner, and then go to bed. And in the morning we'd get up and say, see you later, and off we'd go, and then we'd meet again. And we did this every single day. And, that was my journey. But now that I've done, 10 Caminos, and I've had the Alberg for 4 years, I realize that actually that is really quite rare to walk your entire journey with two complete strangers. And what a beautiful relationship we got from that. So I think that's one of my wonderful stories. And I have one other, well, I have many, but another one that I really like on my second Camino. I was walking with a much younger group of people, university, college students. Somebody was training to be a doctor. Someone was a teacher in Australia. So it was, a group of people ranging from 17 actually up into their 30s, and they were all lovely. And I'm a bit of a postcard writer. I like writing postcards. I like receiving, and I like sending. And my daughter's in Australia, my parents are in the UK, and I have other friends all over the world. So I'd sit and I didn't carry a book with me. I was on my own journey. And so what I would do at the end of the day, I would write a postcard and I would send it. And I was walking into Burgos, and two of these young guys were walking along beside me, and I said, how's everything? Have you spoken to your parents? And they're like, no. And I'm like, why? Why haven't you spoken to your parents? No, you think your parents know you're okay? A typical mother. And I said, well, when we check in, I've got a little thing for us to do today. I had a whole load of postcards. So I sat us down. I said, we're going to write postcards. And they laughed at me. And I said, you know what? I've got a better idea. We're going to write each other's postcards. So I'm going to write to your parents about you two, because I possibly know things about you that they don't know, obviously from the journey in the Camino, and you can each write to mine. So between the three of us, we had 4 postcards, because we wrote to my parents, and the boys wanted, who were my daughter's age, wanted to write to my daughter. She's very beautiful, and they wanted to become friends with her too. And so we wrote to our families and we posted them, and it was amazing. And the next day, I'm walking along, and one of the other people within the, that kept walking with us on and off, said, "Oh, did you do the postcard thing yesterday?" And I said, "Yeah, I did the postcard." And they go, with a group of people wanting to participate got bigger and bigger. And I can remember we got to Cacabelos, and we had 12 people
Oh my God.
on that day, and we sat by the river, and I said, "Okay, today we're going to do a different thing. We're actually going to write to each other, so we can all write a line on a postcard. So put your name and address." I had the stamps, and give them all back to me. So none of us saw the postcards that were for us, but we all wrote a line to that person. So in fact, when we all got home, we all got a postcard back from the Camino. And I still have those postcards. I actually have the ones that were sent to my daughter and to my parents, and I absolutely treasure these postcards. But that experience when you get home and you read what people thought about you, or told something about you on the journey when you got home, was lovely to relive it. And yeah, that's emotional.
That's really amazing. That's really amazing. Actually, about your first story, I had something like that. In my fourth Camino, I have 5. During the Primitivo, at some point we are three people, and it was so amazing that we are all the 3 very, very different from each other, and it was so special walking with them. Walking this, we didn't met, either of us didn't met each other from nowhere. I'm Portuguese, they were from Spain, but really different points in Spain. And it was so amazing doing the Camino with these 2 people. I don't know. It's a Camino, isn't it? So,
Connections that you get with absolute strangers, it's impossible unless somebody's done the Camino that can understand what we're talking about.
that's it. So, very often we listen that some there are pilgrims saying the Camino provides, the Camino provides. In your opinion, how's that? How's the Camino provide?
Well, for me, this is maybe for me, I've got it from the other side. So from walking my Caminos, I eventually moved to Spain, and I found a house which I converted into an albergue. And so I spent a year doing the renovations, and I opened the albergue. So I always thought, the Camino had provided, obviously, because I changed my life for this incredible journey. But 2 weeks after opening, I was sitting outside one afternoon waiting for some pilgrims to come past. I hadn't done any advertising. There was no signs to say I was an albergue. Though I had a piece of slate that said I was an albergue, but that's all I had. And this incredible looking man walked up the street, and my best friend was with me from Australia visiting, giving me encouragement. And suddenly this man turned, and we caught eyes, and "Oh, hello." And he had an accent. I wasn't quite sure where he came from. He didn't particularly look Spanish to me. He looked maybe a little bit more French. And then that did make eventually sense, because he's from the Basque country. And his name is Fermin, and he's my partner. So he arrived after 2 weeks, and he never left. So the Camino literally provided me the love of my life. which I could never, ever have imagined would have happened. But somebody walking through my door to spend a night, 4 years later, we've been inseparable ever since. So I literally have been totally blessed. And yes, I was provided for by St. James.
That's amazing. I will tell you a story after recording this, and you saw how the Camino provides to me. So, what inspired you to be more involved with the Camino at the point that you build an albergue?
Yeah, it's because it had changed my life. It was such an incredible journey, and I realized that when I went back to Australia, that it became an obsession for me. You know, I tried to read everything that I could about it on the internet or with books or to talk to people. And 2012, you know, I didn't know, I only knew one or two people from Australia that had done the Camino. And I wanted to tell the world, I wanted everybody to do the Camino because I felt it was such an incredible journey, and it really something everybody should do if it is your calling. I mean, I wouldn't tell people to do it because some people just do it just for the challenge of doing the Camino. And that they just want to tick it off their bucket list. But there are people that should do the Camino, and I wanted to tell as many people as possible. So for me, you know, I wanted to get the word out there, and I realized that this obsession needed to be a bit more than me just getting the word out there. I want to be on the Camino to be a part of people's lives that are walking. So not necessarily if I couldn't walk anymore, but to be from the other side. So I was like you, I became a hospitalero to make sure that I would really enjoy that. But I love people. I love the Camino. What more could I want to do than to be here permanently and keep spreading the word and encouraging people to get to Santiago as well.
That's amazing. Thank you for your work. It's really amazing. And what is your inspiration to keep walking?
St. James.
Nice answer. Nice answer. Hard question. What legacy are you looking to leave amongst the Camino community?
The legacy. I believe that whatever we give, we get back 10 times from the pilgrims. So however much we want to give to them, and we give to them, what they come in and bring into our lives is our reward for this. And the legacy is, if this can continue, that that we can bring people together around a communal table with maybe 10 different languages, and maybe half of those people can't communicate with actual words to somebody else at that table, but how we can communicate with different nationalities. And often we have different religions at our table as well. And to think that, you know, I've had, you know, Muslims and Judaism and Catholics all at that table, which possibly do fight in the world. But when you get them around a table, it's it's incredible. And if that legacy can live on, to me, that would be amazing.
Definitely, definitely. Actually, I have met two Muslims, but it was more incredible than just being Muslim. They were refugees from Syria. Two I
Wow.
met on the Camino, too young. They were a couple. They were brothers. Um, one girl and one guy. They were like 18 years old. That was in 2016. They were refugees in Netherlands, and they were walking the Camino. And they were refugees from Syria. That was, I don't know, so amazing, so awesome seeing this.
Yeah.
Can you tell us now a bit about your albergue, about Casa Susi?
Casa Susi, it's wonderful. Wonderful. If we could be open, it would be even better. So it's we've just got 12 beds, 12 single beds. Possibly now, due to COVID, we're probably going to have to go to 8 beds so that we've got the space between the beds. But we've got 12 beds at the moment. We've got 2 big open space bathrooms, which you get all to yourself, and we have a very, very big dining table where we have a communal meal with the pilgrims every night. So we cook and then we join the pilgrims. So we all sit together. We have a very big vegetable garden, and we have a river which we've got access to with a little pier under a bridge. So we grow as much as we possibly can in the garden, and it's lovely because when the pilgrims arrive, lots of them are still very active, and they're, oh, can we come and help in the garden? So they'll come down and do a bit of picking and a bit of planting. We have the big herb patch, so if people want to make their own herbal teas, they can go down and pick anything down from the garden. So bringing everybody together at night around the table is incredible, and I think that's our biggest thing that we love. That's our pleasure, to be part of people's Camino, but to hear their stories and often, you know, we've got somebody checked in and then another person will arrive and the first person comes through, and then there's a lot of screaming because maybe these people haven't seen each other for 1, 2 or 3 weeks, and oh, you're here, and to see those people rejoin together. Yeah, I cry a lot. It's it really does tug at my heartstrings, and I know I'm doing the right thing when I see people get together and talk at the table. Or we get people that are at the table and suddenly the next day they walk off on their Camino, and then they might send me a picture when they get to Santiago and they say, oh, thanks to you, you know, we end up walking to Santiago. So we're a small old bogey, but it's very intimate. It's a family. We like to know everybody here, like they would want to know us. You know, there's a lot of people want to come and hear the story of how Casa Susi, how did this Australian woman get here in the first place? And, you know, a few people have heard about the love story with Fermin. So, yeah, it's nice to share our story as well. And we have tips. We like to give, you know, what's tomorrow like? Where should we stay next? What happens when we get to Santiago? Should we walk to Musia or Finisterre? So, yeah, we like to share lots of things, and it's nice. I think that's a good thing if people want help and we can help them.
That's really nice. Thank you. I like this need to say thank you because it's really amazing what's your story and what you do for the Camino. Imagine that we have to relive the same day every day. You have to relive the same day every day, and you are on the Camino walking, doing a stage. What stage you choose to do every day?
What stage? Wow, I like that question. God, it's a really tough one as well. What's my favorite stage of the Camino? You know what? I love the walk from Burgos to Hontanes. I love that Hontanes never seems to arrive, and then suddenly you see 500 meters village, and you go, "There's no way is there a village in 500 meters? There's nothing." And then suddenly Hontanes just appears down in that little valley. So I think that's an incredible one. And actually, this is not necessarily coming as far as Trabadelo to Casa Susi, but walking from Cacabelos to Villafranca through the vines where the White House is, and anybody that has walked past the White House on the hill on the left-hand side, which is a winery, will know the house. I reckon it's the most photographed house along the Camino, but that's actually a walk that I can, you know, drive 10 minutes and I could do any day. And it never, ever bores me. It's through the vines. You're surrounded by mountains. It's incredible. And so, yeah, I would walk that. And Villafranca is such a beautiful town. So, yeah, but yeah, the Burgos to Hontanes, I think I like that one too.
That's a nice stage. So we're almost finishing here, but some final questions. First, looking back, how the Camino was so important to you in your life?
I think it's important because it changed my life, and I think I'm a better person for it. I mean, I don't necessarily think I was a bad person before, but I think my values have changed a lot um, since I've done the Camino. And yeah, definitely, it did just change my life. But it is that I am a better person, non-judgment, and it's not that I particularly did judge people, but you coming from the society we come from, in Australia, if somebody didn't look quite like us on the street, maybe you would sidestep them as you walk past them. You don't know their story, you don't know where they've come from or why they're like they are. Don't judge them if you don't know them. And the Camino teaches you that. And I've never forgotten it.
That's amazing. So, last question. What advice could you give to someone um, who is going to start the Camino for the first
Just
time?
just do it. Get out there. People go, "Oh, do I need to train? And I've got to carry my bag." No, no, no. Just get out there and start walking. Don't We can put obstacles in our way why we shouldn't do it, but in fact, take away the obstacles and just start. Because what happens is your body adapts. Don't rush it. Take it slowly. And I know it's really hard for some people. I've been incredibly lucky on my journeys that I had unlimited time pretty much to do my Camino. And I know there's people that are out there that don't have the pleasure of having it unlimited. Um, but rather than rush it and missing the moments, go at your own pace. And if suddenly there's a section where you're getting a bit behind, it's okay to take a bus to catch up if you lived in the moment, in that moment. Um, and so I think for people, just get out there, start walking. And my best advice is get a pair of toe socks. And toe socks are like gloves for your feet. They're incredible. So each little toe has its own little home and it stops blisters. Well, it stops them between your toes anyway.
For me, my secret about that, it's a called that I guess there isn't on America or in Australia, but Vaseline.
Yes,
That's my secret.
that's
Um,
your secret.
the,
With my
on my first Camino walking, I didn't use it, and I was really struggling with my feet with with the blisters. On my first Camino, my second one walking, and the next one's zero blisters.
wow.
That's it. Vaseline 3 times a day, and that's it. No problem more. Blisters, no problem more. So, thank you so for doing this with me. It was a really amazing talk. Thank you so much for for this. I don't know. I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, William.